welcome to another episode of Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. I am Patrina Wisdom, abundance activator, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and founder of Pure Abundance Retreat. And I'm so excited and honored to have my girlfriend here. This is Micaela Bellopedi, and she's here with the Miracle Catcher Foundation. We're going to learn all about that. But before we do, I just want to welcome you first off to my living room.
Thank you, Patrina.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're finally getting an opportunity to do this. And before we jump in, I want you to actually tell the audience not just what you do, but who you are. Who is Micaela?
Wow. So many things to say. Right now I focus mostly on being a mom and running a foundation that I started in 2009. We build schools all over the world, but most specifically in Africa. I also am an entrepreneur. I am an author, a photographer, and my new company that I'm starting this year is Eco Fashion. So everything is upcycled, recycled, using sustainable materials.
Wow. And so what has been your greatest challenge in life, and how has that shaped kind of the work that you're doing?
So I would say there's really two big challenges that have really affected me, and they connect, they interconnect, and the reason why I started the foundation. So I would say the two darkest moments of my life have been the death of several people close to me. And then also, I had my son at 51, and he's 4 now. But before I conceived him, I had 2 miscarriages, and I did several rounds of IVF and IUIs, so there was a lot of pain and struggle in that journey. But both of those things combined, I lost my identical twin sister when I was a baby. And then my best friend passed away suddenly in 2009 of a heart aneurysm. And then most recently, my beloved father passed away. And it was in 2009, after my friend died suddenly, that I decided to go to Africa for the first time. And when I was at her celebration of life, one of my friends said to me, take the thing that you love the most about the person you lost and incorporate it into yourself. And then you'll never lose them.
Was that her homeland? Or their homeland? I don't know if it was a male or female.
No, she actually was Filipina. But the thing that I loved the most about her was that she was the best mom I knew. So at the time, I was in a leadership program, and there was a colleague of mine who was helping with a school in Uganda. And when I thought about it, I was single at the time, and I had no children, but I really wanted to be a mom. And I think at that time I was about 40, 41. And it occurred to me there was this school in Uganda of all these orphan children. And it just was like kind of an epiphany from spirit. Go to a place where all these children don't have a mom and be their mom.
Okay.
So I'll try not to cry when I tell the story.
All the feels are welcome.
But that was the beginning.
Yeah.
And it was the most beautiful Christmas I've ever had. 180 orphans. So instead of adopting one child from that school, I decided to adopt the whole school.
Okay.
And I am now one of the co-founders, and our school's grown. And then I got asked to help build other schools. So now we've helped build schools mostly for orphans or children that are struggling in 22 countries, I think was the last count. And my goal, and I'm working on it right now, is $1 million for 1 million children. So, also when my dad passed away, I took over his company. He was a builder, so it kind of all fits together. I wanted to carry on his legacy. He had a big vision, and I want to leave a big legacy for my son. So the Miracle Catcher Foundation will continue to grow and help people. And
What called you to Uganda?
well, my friend Jeannie, she'll be hearing this recording or this podcast. She was working on a project, but it was stalled.
Okay.
And I had a coach then. And my coach said, "You finished your project." So now,
Oh, as part of the leadership program.
and
Okay.
she said, "Go and help someone who's stalled."
Okay.
So that was where it all began. She had heard about this beautiful project. There's a friend of ours named Jamie Bianchini. You might want to interview him one day. He rode his bicycle through 88 countries.
Oh, wow.
88 across all the continents. And he had what do they call those bicycles with 2 seats?
I don't remember.
It was a bicycle with 2 seats, and from every town he would pick up a different rider,
Interesting.
and he would learn their story.
Oh, how cool.
And they started making a documentary on it, and I'm not sure where that's at, but when he was in Uganda, he picked up a rider named Innocent Tumaheki, who's the headmaster at our school, and his dream was to start a school.
Okay. So you guys brought that vision to life.
Yes,
Helped bring
and we
that
helped
to life.
him. We helped him,
them.
and it's just a beautiful way that all these people now that I work with, and on the project I'm working on right now, I get to hear about what amazing things people are doing around the world, and so I think you know that I started the Miracle Catcher Foundation Awards of Recognition.
Right. And that's been around for a long time.
Several years.
Yeah.
I really
Quite some time.
I wanted people to know, especially on social media, that there are many good people in the world doing a lot of good works. So we started focusing on different projects. And so now that I stay at home with my son, and I, retired from coaching and teaching, I really just want to spotlight and help what other people are doing right now,
Okay.
and help them make their dreams come true.
So then how did that evolve into the eco-friendly fashion world? They seem very like opposite spectrum, you know?
Right. Well, one of the things that my life really has shown me, and where I'm at right now, is it's taking chaos and turning it into beauty, or taking tragedy and turning it into triumph. During the pandemic, I lived on a property with a lot of land, and we started growing a lot of our own food. And when I was doing fertility in my late 40s and 50s, in order to carry a really healthy, beautiful pregnancy in your 50s, really have to, have a very clean vessel.
Yeah.
So I started I became a vegetarian. For some of the time I was a vegan. I became very, very interested and concerned about all the things I was learning about women's fertility. And one of the things that I came across with working with a Swiss doctor was all of the ways that we're damaging our fertility. A lot of it had to do with beauty products.
Really?
Things that we were using, lead in lipstick, and
Right.
Powders that are causing ovarian cancer. Earlier in my career, I was a holistic practitioner, so I was always very interested in healing the body naturally. So this is where this has kind of come out of. One of the things I learned is that a lot of the fabrics that we're wearing that are synthetic are made from petroleum. Like oil.
Wow.
None of that is really good for our bodies or our private parts.
Right.
Or our fertility. So between the desire to grow food and teach people about what they're eating, what they're putting into their bodies, what they're putting onto their bodies, I also used to love to sew when I was a little girl. And I lived in Italy. I'm Italian. I worked at Benetton.
Oh, Benetton.
So, yeah, I mean, it was just all these
Wow.
pieces of my life all started to merge together. And my son is going to go and start kindergarten, TK, in September. And I had another epiphany a few months ago that I would go back to school and learn tailoring.
Oh, wow.
Just because it was something I always wanted to do. And that's the real beauty of, getting to a place in your life of abundance and where people are running things for you is, and that's the model I want to be for all women, is you don't have to do it all yourself. You don't have to run your own company. I have wonderful people that run my businesses for me so that I can stay home and, enjoy motherhood.
Yeah. It's a whole new game when you move from survival to what I like to call surthrival, right? And that's where you get to really live in this place of abundance and only do the things that really feel fully aligned and, that light you up.
Absolutely.
And that are impacting and contributing. So it's lovely that and at an early age, actually, because 55 now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's still quite young. You still have like a whole life ahead of you. And now your child is going into school and you're going to have more time. So watch out, world, because here comes Micaela.
I always say the first 50 years were for me.
Practice,
to live, because I was, my book is about the 50 countries that I got to
Yeah.
visit and learn and explore. But the next 50 years are for others and for community and for the world. And also, I personally, I was a teacher for many, many years. And I spent a lot of time around children. And then I got to teach.
An actual teacher.
Yeah, I taught
Wow,
elementary school, and I taught at UCSD for 10 years.
Didn't know that about you.
High school for several years. I've taught in, Spain, Korea, Japan, Uganda, the US, Italy.
So the fact that you have multiple schools now only makes sense.
Right. Well, that helps you all understand why I
Yes.
started building schools.
The journey.
It was all about, helping the kids. I've been to places where, people were selling children on the streets. Like that was something normal. And it was so heartbreaking to me. I'm working with designers right now that are from the US, from 4 cities, but I always say to them, if you could go to the world and see what I've seen, most people would stop worrying about their first world problems.
Yeah.
We took in 55 new orphans this year because of all the schools that shut down during COVID. And we didn't have beds for them or food, so we bought land so we can grow our own food because the inflation was astronomical. I truly believe that to have been able to visit over 50 countries in this life was a huge blessing.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do with that blessing? I want to be able to help the world, especially the people that are so vulnerable, the women that have no rights, the children that have no one to advocate for them. I always say that you've probably heard it said that great wealth also comes with great responsibility.
Yeah.
And not everybody understands that these days or even takes it on. But for me, being born in the 60s and coming out of, an era that was all about, peace, love, harmony, inclusion, I still really believe in a world that works for everybody. And I truly believe as one single teacher, when I first started, philanthropy, I was making a teacher salary. I think it was maybe like, 40, 50,000. I was single. I had no kids. And I always say if one person can impact that many people, even if they don't even make that much money, then what could we all be doing if we all did it together?
Yeah.
So
as a collective.
Yes. So I always, really want to say to everyone also listening is, doesn't matter where you're at. You know, I started with the goal to raise $10,000. I got a bunch of people together. Let's have a big party. Let's have everybody
Was that
contribute.
for the schools?
It was the first fundraiser we
school.
did in 2009. And every time I did another event, I would raise the bar and then raise it higher.
Right.
And then raise it higher. And I think, oh, and there's one more nonprofit that I love that you're going to love. There's an organization called So Powerful, but it's SEO.
Okay.
And they have volunteers all over the world that use recycled fabrics to make feminine hygiene pads for young girls to be able to go to school. Because in some countries, there's a lot of things we take for granted, being powerful women in the US. There's many girls that either don't get to go to school at all, or once they get their periods, they have to stop. So this organization that I'm helping support makes it possible for these girls to go to school.
Wow.
So there's just, you know, like I said, I keep hearing about more and more and more good. You know, when you create a foundation and you say, okay, look, I'm going to raise funds to help people, you start hearing about amazing projects.
Yeah.
So this is just a few of the many projects that I could support.
What I love about this journey, though, is that the first 50 plus years of your life, yeah, there may have been some struggle, there was some loss, there was some hardship, right? There was just this process of learning, growing, evolving, turning some of that or all of that tragedy into triumph, right? And now you've arrived at this space where the second half of your life can be about contribution and legacy. So when you look at the lifespan that we have, especially as women, because women live longer than men typically, just the amount of impact that you can have in your life, right? If you approach life from that perspective of like, what can I learn? How do I get through this, and what's waiting for me on the other side?
Right.
So I love it. And just there's so many things in your story that other people would have folded, and the fact that you're still here, that you have such a bright light, that you're able to now transmit that light and love and energy and funds to other people is just amazing. So I'm really happy that we were able to do this, that it worked out, that everyone got to hear your story, and of course, take a look at the Miracle Catcher Foundation. And I appreciate you for tuning in. I know you must have gotten a ton of nuggets. We're gonna have more amazing interviews throughout our season, so subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we will see you next week right here at Living Room Wisdom, where your story is your glory. Bye.